This is a Clouds weather alert.
Meteorologist Casey Cloud back with you here in the Weather Center tracking our severe weather situation on this Monday. I know we've been with you on and off for about 8 hours here, and we're having to continue coverage. Another stream, I haven't had to do this in a while, having to do multiple streams, the extended one, and now another pretty extended one coming. But we have quite a bit going on. You see that new severe thunderstorm warning just now popping up in Georgia, Brantley, Camden, Charlton, and Ware till 1:30. Severe thunderstorm warning up there for 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We also have a new severe thunderstorm warning since we last spoke to you guys for portions of the eastern Florida, Big Bend, areas of Lafayette, Dixie, and Taylor counties until 1:30. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, quarter-size hail on that. The storm up in Georgia would be hailed about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. We got to watch our stuff right around Stark, though, where we're at here, too, because it's just below severe limits right now. We even have little areas of weak rotation. There's no watch out here toward Bradford and Union at this point, but there is an advisory, and we're just watching some of this wind enhancement here as we look at the Doppler radar, as we kind of give you guys the very latest. You see some wind enhancement up there between about Stark and Lodi, and areas there getting in toward Clay County at this point, and some of that starts to shift off just a little. I know we've been watching some of this over the last little bit. Just watching the different scans here moving across, and a lot of that clustering going on here as we track, just seeing some of these different areas here. I'm just going through something just to check some information. I know it looked like there was a report of a road obstruction somewhere in the Brooker area there. Looking at some information, let me just throw up our coverage map here real quick. I want to see exactly where that was here as we're looking here, and we're in Bradford County. Didn't have any formal warning for Bradford here for this. Just the advisory we alluded to when we wrapped up the other stream, because we're getting so close to 8 hours, which we can't go over on Facebook because it would cut it off anyway. So we just decided to start another stream there as we're tracking. I know, just looking here. That's information behind the scenes. Let me see where this is. So just want to get my bearings down here. And it's a little bit further over, so maybe not caused by the weather, maybe some wind out ahead. So that's interesting, but County Road 231, County Road 18. So just trying to get an idea here what we're talking about, because sometimes the road obstruction can be caused there by some of the wind causing some problems here with a storm. And that could have been a little bit further off toward the west of where that was, but might have still had some wind just come on in here in the overall setup here as we were looking over the last few minutes or so. It's a possibility. And it might have been from stuff a little bit earlier on in the hour, but the more recent stuff a little stronger. Again, an advisory for parts of Bradford, but not a warning. So let's go to the areas with the warnings here as we're tracking. Again, I'm going to come back on camera now. We have our advisory out here. Warning star, that's why I'm focusing a little more, but we have our warning out here toward Dixie, Lafayette, and Taylor, one of the warnings. So let's go ahead and jump in over here. And you have some areas of wind enhancement from about Mayo through these different spots there, on Steinhatchee and the like. Cross City, Horseshoe Beach will be impacted next little bit. I know we're talking about a 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, quarter-size hail, Mayo, Cross City. You have Horseshoe Point there, Swanee, Horseshoe Beach. So some of these areas hit so hard by our hurricanes here. Horseshoe Beach, you see right on the map here, about to get impacted. Some of the other areas up the coast are already getting impacted by this line. Maybe gusts to 60. Some of these areas still may be suffering from some vulnerabilities in the aftermath of Helene. Helene's been 18 months or so now, give or take. But as we're tracking, but still, the aftermath of that, and Adalia before that, Debbie in between. So yeah, there's been a lot that's gone on down there. Haven't had too much severe weather, recently down here, but we have that potential right about now as we're looking and as we're tracking with some of these winds aloft. So in 50, 60 miles an hour. That looks impressive from the Moody radar, some really strong winds south of Waycross right now. Let's see if that shows up from the Jacksonville radar. Similarly, it might. It might. Kind of does. Not as strong though, but moving toward the Winnaker community and getting there toward US 301 and US 1 there in toward South Georgia. I know here east of Stark, that quick downpour accident here in that lunch hour, getting a 1/4 inch of rain or so. Where I'm at east of Stark, some areas getting even more. I know 1,008 millibars of pressure is still continuing to fall. You can see some of these spots there out towards Sampson and into Stark itself, about a 1/2 inch or so. We're a little east, so a little bit less, but see that kind of moving off for now. Let me go ahead and see what we have here on the other mode. I'm going to go ahead and see here that camera view. In fact, I might be able to, let me see if there's anything, so what we can do. I can actually back this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do here, this is actually going to be about 25 minutes ago or so. We're going to see that camera view here first, and then I'll go to live view. So this is, it's going to say live, but it's actually, this is from about 25 minutes ago or so. You see the darker skies. We were looking back west and you saw some of that rain. And like here, we had that special weather statement. And then it's a situation here where we had some of that come on in. I mean, just watching that. Now I'll go to the current viewpoint here, and I'll switch it on back on the screen behind me here off toward the east of Stark, looking back toward the west. But you saw how 25 minutes ago we had some of that darkness. Now a little more of that grayish look for now. We have that bigger, more organized action still further back, but this pop-up action really got going here pretty quickly with the daytime heating. We're down to 72. We were closer to 80 not that long ago. So a very unusual setup in that, just the way things are organizing here today, and the overall, organization with the line, and then it's pop-up stuff so quick out ahead. You don't generally get it like this here in our area. That might actually zap some of the energy because it's close enough to the main line now. It might zap some of the energy from that a little bit. We shall see as we're looking, as we're tracking. We don't have as many warnings as we did back out that way. We'll see if they issue another tornado watch or expand it past 2 o'clock. I know the Storm Prediction Center in Norman was sending out a mesoscale discussion here recently. Let me go ahead and look at that. Let's see what they had to say about this. So that's a red circled area. They're saying the threat does continue for the tornado watch. The watch set to expire at 2 o'clock, and a local extension or a small watch downstream may be needed given the expected ongoing threats for damaging gusts and tornadoes. And they were talking, the SPC was multiple bands of convection ongoing over parts of the northern Gulf Coast, from northern Florida into southern Georgia and southern South Carolina. A large stratiform rain shield with multiple embedded convective elements will approach and spread eastward there, effectively limiting northward expansion of a destabilization, scenario, destabilizing air mass there to the south, and then strong type of atmospheric parameters in place may still support some of those damaging gust and brief tornado threats here with embedded convection despite weak buoyancy. However, the primary severe risk appears to be focused on stronger portions of the line over to eastern Florida, Big Bend, and possibly with new development over western portions of the Jacksonville County warning area. I know seeing some of that here recently is, this right here, I think is what they're talking about. This right here is, well, I'm doing this wrong, but you can see what I'm saying here. This down here, this line back out there is where we're seeing the more organization, and behind it, the severe threat's really coming to an end. I know we're, we've been on for a while, so sorry if my voice is giving out a little, I'm pointing a little bit wrong, but we've been here since 5 a.m. We covered and been watching before that. We're on last night too, so little war out here in the Weather Center, but it's all about protecting you, your friends, your family. But you're talking about that risk here, stuff to be mindful, some instability, some shear, local extension or new smaller downstream watch, you're both being considered, for the expected severe risk. This risk is not over here by any stretch of the imagination. So again, we still have to be very vigilant, obviously, here as we look and as we track. Significant advisory for parts of Union and Swanee. Some of the other areas until 1:45 here this afternoon. Just continuing to look at the latest information here. Continuing to give you guys the very latest details on what's happening. Currently I have those 2 yellow polygons with the tornado watch underneath. Again, just trying to see exactly what's going on here as we're looking, as we're tracking things here today. Let me go ahead and see if there's any new information to make note of here. Appreciate folks like Top Cat Ann and Thomas watching here on the different, streams here this afternoon, keeping you guys up to date. Those are both on YouTube, I think. But again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on this situation. We're just trying to see how things are evolving. It's crazy to think that not that far off, we have, snow here. Look at that, northern Alabama. They have picked up an inch of snow there, not too far east of Huntsville today. You see the snow here east of Birmingham, around Anniston. Just such a powerful system as we're looking, as we're tracking things here. By the way, a couple trees reported down in McCulloch County, or, Crawfordville area. That coming in from around lunch hour, just before 12 with that, information. But again, it's showing up now, but that it happened, around that point, around 12, maybe 11:55 or so. That being reported there, the thunderstorm wind damage into the 911 call center over there. So again, just continuing to track this here. Let me go ahead and see what else we have going on. We're going to go ahead and see there's some wind enhancement in northwestern Clay County. Northwestern Clay County. Not severe here, but there's some wind enhancement here in northwest of Middleburg. That's some strong wind. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a severe thunderstorm warning in the western Duval soon on that. It looks pretty concerning off the Jacksonville angle, to be completely honest. And then as we look back off toward the west here, around Mayo area, looks like maybe some weak rotation south of Cook's Hammock there. We get into southern Georgia. We have a situation here. We have some wind enhancement moving toward Winneker. Could have some damaging wind around there. Again, something to be mindful of. Got to be very, vigilant with that. Let me go ahead and see what else we're dealing with. So this line moving off toward east at 45 in general. So let me go ahead and switch it on over. I know we have all that severe threat up north. Some of that's not as organized as it could be right now, which is good news, but we still have to be paying attention. But we have to watch down here, of course, our area, as we track with these 50 on the others. So I know, let's just kind of probably be out of our area here. Let's say in about, I would just say 3 hours to be safe here. I might be more like 2.5 with the severe threat really based on what I'm seeing right now. Let's say 3 hours, probably out of our viewing circle here at this point in time. We still got a few more hours to go, a few more hours to be vigilant here, and then there'll be more Central Florida this year, and we're still watching some areas up north as well. So again, just trying to keep you informed on what's going on here this afternoon. Okay, severe thunderstorm warning for Clay and Duval now until 1:45. So it's that area I was just talking about there. That did not look good there with that wind enhancement. And here you go. That's what I was just moving through here in Bradford, where we got a 1/4 inch. But now in the word Clay, now that wind enhancement really showing up on the Doppler radar algorithm. So let me go ahead and zoom back in over there. This is for Clay and Duval until 1:45. That is really significant looking. Not so much in terms of a tornado, but just a lot of wind damage potential, 60 to 70 with the winds pretty close to the radar, heading right north downtown Jacksonville there, in this 1 o'clock hour. So that could be, hopefully not, but it could be unfortunately catching folks off guard here as we're tracking this overall scenario here, moving toward the I-295 corridor there. I-295 and then up toward I-10. So again, something we're tracking very carefully there. A severe thunderstorm warning for Duval and Clay until 1:45. Portions of Duval and Clay. Northwestern Clay, southwestern Duval at 1:16. A severe thunderstorm was located over Lakeside or near Orange Park, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. Jacksonville, Orange Park, Middleburg, Mandarin, Ortega, Oakleaf, talking about the Bel Air, Meadowbrook Terrace, Cecil Field, NAS Jacks, and Doctors Inlet here under this severe thunderstorm warning until 1:45. Not a tornado possible tag, but some very noteworthy winds being noted on the Doppler algorithms here as we're looking in toward the metro. We're looking in toward the metro now. I see something else popping up now. This is east of Bryceville. Some weak rotation. Got to watch that. Run Callahan now. Got some weak rotation popping on up here. Have to watch that there on Callahan in Nassau County. We have this area up here in toward parts of Brantley and Camden and Charlton and where a severe thunderstorm warning until 1:30. We have a warning down in here. Let me switch it back to regular radar, the conventional radar mode. Got a warning down here until 1:30 as well for parts of Dixie, Lafayette, and Taylor. So, yeah, there's a lot going on here for sure. As I'm giving you guys the latest updates here, just, a lot happening with the overall meteorology. A lot, that we're dealing with here. And the like. So, again, I'm looking at things. I'm going to run a loop here of the radar and the situation that we've been dealing with over the last little bit. And I'm getting that together now, and I'll throw it up here as the timeline does go along. As we do, tick on by here with the minutes on this Monday, on this March 16th, 2026. We watched our severe weather threat here locally. Toward the first coast and northeast Florida, north central Florida, eastern Big Bend, and into south central and southeast Georgia more so. I just said south Georgia in the description of broad brush it, but you kind of get the idea as I try to explain it here. So let me go ahead and we got that loop ready. I think we do. So we're going to go ahead and take that now, and you'll be able to see. The last 4 hours, you see those red boxes. We had to stick with those wall to wall. And we've had these yellow boxes. We had hail around Tallahassee somewhat. Now we have 3 yellow boxes as we translate further off toward the east here. These severe thunderstorm warning situations. Clay and Duval to 1:45. Portions of that area. We have Brantley, Camden, Charlton. That area where until 1:30. We have to have parts of Dixie, Lafayette, and Taylor until 1:30. So you have 3 different areas of concern. That gets you to about looks like about, let's see here, 9 maybe counties between those 3 warnings. By the way, Hamilton County gets to 45 miles an hour at 110, 3 miles east of Swanee Springs. Again, continuing to track all this here for you. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to step out of the camera side. I'll go back over here in the Weather Center to the computer. So, again, just continuing to track all this here for you. Going to step out of this shot right now as I want to get over here so I can do some things a little bit quicker over here in the Weather Center. So again, we're going to leave that up there. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can start getting some traffic cameras up here in this type of situation this afternoon. See if we can look at some stuff in toward Clay and Duval, primarily with that wind signature being so impressive. Again, let's go ahead and try to focus on that here. Let's try to focus on that. As we look and as we track, important to get an idea of what's going on. Just trying to really keep you up to date. Just bear with me here. I mean, look how cool it is out in southeast Alabama. In the 40s over there now. Snow in toward areas there around Birmingham. Huntsville, Chattanooga. Just some snow in toward those areas, a good bit in some of these spots. And you can see here, though, we have a situation out here toward parts of Dixie, Lafayette, and Taylor counties until 1:30, a severe thunderstorm warning. In toward Georgia, we have parts of Camden, Brantley, Ware, and Charlton. Until 1:30, we have this one for parts of Duval, and parts of Clay until 1:45. So let's go ahead and jump in on some different things. Again, tonight it's going to get cold. We're going to be down into the 30s. So be prepared for that. The wind signature isn't quite as nasty as it was a minute ago. By the way, I did have a gust of 40 at UF. Or take that back. It was actually a few miles away from UF, but the Sweetwater Wetlands Park at 1:10 this afternoon there in Alachua County. Yeah, so we're watching this signature here. It's fading some, but it's getting closer to downtown in the radar. So let's get some cameras up there still at 295 into toward Jacksonville. There are different people watching. I know people watching up north, Wisconsin, blizzard type weather. Up north with the snowy aspect of this scenario. I'm going to go ahead and see, though, if I can get those cameras up now. Just a one-man band here, but it's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. Again, we're going to look into parts of southern Duval here as the situation, arises. Even northwestern Clay. We'll go here to State Road 23. We'll take this full. You'll see some of these wet conditions. So here you go. Telling that story. Making things, a little bit of a rougher go out there for sure. Just past that lunch hour. And we'll go ahead and move away from that for now. Keep looking for more camera shots of the situation. We're getting towards southern Duval. Just trying to effort some images here. It's always important to do that. Let's go to I-295 west there, south of 103rd Street. A view of these inclement conditions. And toward the metro there. Definitely telling a story. Be careful on the roads. I don't know, let me see how much Bradford Weatherston picked up for that rain here in the last hour. Just kind of curious. Because it got to 79 here earlier. It used to start now 73. They picked up almost a half inch, 0.48 there. In toward that area, we picked up 0.27. With the situation here. Let me see if we have any power outage numbers, because this gives you an idea of what's to come further up. Don't know about the city of Stark, but in terms of Bradford, we have 241. They're out, with all those being on Clay Electric. Actually have a good number out in Hamilton, 677 customers out. Suwannee County, 2,457. These look a little bit higher than what I would have thought, to be quite honest. 538 out of Lafayette County, 916 out in Dixie County, 1,012 out in Taylor County, and 283 out in Madison. So this stuff might be a bit stronger out here than what we're giving it credit for. As we really started to see. Some of this stuff looks like it could start to rotate a little bit on here. Gotta be kind of careful. Just gotta be kind of mindful. Gust of 50 around Lake City possible soon. Brantford area, we have potential for winds about 60 from there, and Hatch Bend westward. With that severe thunderstorm warning, that's in play until about 1:30. And then we have, I know the warning in Georgia went away. Let me see what they said about that. They're expiring that one, but now Tallahassee just issued a warning there for Dixie and Lafayette. They're in the Love Building at FSU that they do those from there. And that's Tallahassee office. And Dixie and Lafayette now to 2:30. So that's down in here. That's your new polygon. And then you also have the other one expiring, but it's also a report earlier from Lowndes County, but also scattered trees down in that zone. Let's see what else we have. Let me go ahead and reset that. I'm gonna move my chair a little bit here, so bear with me. Again, just trying to make sure I'm as comfortable as possible after being on and off here with coverage for 8.5 hours or so. But now it's, moving in here further east. We're in Bradford, watching stuff there in Clay. Some very weak rotation over that way. We'll watch it, but the wind enhancement more noteworthy as we look there over toward I-295, that I-295 corridor. Again, let me see what we have here. We'll go ahead and pull up some more cameras here momentarily. I'll try to figure out exactly where some of the strongest winds will be in terms of the cameras. Maybe right in there somewhere. I'm going to look. Let's see what we can pull up. Let's pull up I-295 west north of Collins Road, maybe. Pull this camera in. Florida 501 perspective. Telling that story. Again, watching things here carefully. Definitely seeing some of that shake around, some of that pond in the water on the roadway a little bit. That's a good bit of water there adding on up. So got to be really careful there, obviously. Some of these areas, it doesn't drain too good, especially when it first starts to fall. That's kind of what we're seeing there as we look and as we track. Again, that definitely doesn't look like, that's good there with that water adding on up. But again, continuing to track this. See around Middleburg, Doctor's Inlet, we have somewhat enhancement, but more so up in here, northwest of Meadowbrook Terrace, really. As we give you guys the very latest. Again, keeping you informed. This stuff's starting to move inward to Lake City area. Let me see if we can pull up a model here. As I'm trying to get an idea on some stuff. I know this is later on tonight. We're looking here, we're tracking things. It's going to be probably rain there. Pretty cool rain if that actually reaches. I don't know if it would, but back this on up. You can see how this is supposed to be 2 o'clock, but really, let's see. I mean, that's not too far off actually now, but 3 o'clock, 4 p.m., 5 p.m. So that's kind of your progressing here over the next few hours. Should really be out of here, I would say maybe 4 or a little, around there, but at least by 5. That may be weaker by then. We'll see, but we still got to be paying attention next, little bit here for sure. We have some of that, look at that instability. That's really gotten high there on that. Supercell compile, that tornado parameter. So that started to shift a little bit south. It's a co-location. Okay, we just got a new tornado watch though. It's okay. This isn't gonna last as long as it says because they'll do a trim. They'll do a trim for our area, but technically they're gonna go to 8 o'clock with this, which might be, honestly, that's kind of confusing compared to what I just said. But our threat here should be over by at least 5-ish or so. But they're doing that because some of these areas downstate may be a little longer. I'm a little surprised they went all the way to 8 on that, though. That's kind of, I know that confuses the messaging a little bit here, but tornado watch does include everybody to the coast now in our area. As we're looking as we track things, so just got to be paying attention in that regard as we give you the latest. Just be vigilant here. Gust to 44 miles an hour at 122 there in Gainesville. As we look toward parts of Duval, you see some wind enhancement there on I-295, moving up toward US 17. Got some stuff up near the airport there. Let's see if we have a camera up in that area. They're not under the warning. Not under a severe thunderstorm warning up that way, but we got some comments. I know if you were from Lakeland watching, you guys might have to watch for some stuff later on. Sorry if I'm losing my voice a little. Been on for a while, but you know, I mean, they're already seeing some lightning there north of there. That's not our area, but yeah, still risk of some stuff later on even. You know, as we're looking at the overall pattern. Spotty Saturday being reported on St. Augustine. That looks about right. And then Baker County there, if you were watching, yeah, we got this stuff coming in. Moving east at 45. So it should be in your neck of the woods there in Baker County pretty soon. As we look and as we track. So within the hour here. Depending on what part of the county, it could be, you know, more like, you know, half hour or less, or eastern part a little bit later, but on the line of an hour or so. Sorry again if I'm losing my voice, but I'm trying to stick with it the best I can here. Again, giving you guys the very latest here. We have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings right now. This is southern Duval here. Just trying to give you the latest. Again, I appreciate everybody tuning trust in me. My voice is, my throat's starting to hurt a good bit now. Don't normally hurt from talking, but I'm starting to get that here as we've been on for so long here. But it's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. It's about keeping everybody safe and informed here. Again, look at all the snow acts in there. That's something. As we're looking even up, you know, in the south here. Further up, you know, we're heading more impactful totals, but still some pretty, you know, noteworthy little banding here on Chattanooga. They just had severe weather less than 12 hours ago. It is something. You see some of this pop-up stuff. Let me get back over to Dixie and Lafayette, though. We have that line. We're going to go ahead and see what we got here. It's not a tornado situation, but, you know, in general, we don't get warnings over here as much on average. Just trying to stick with these a little more. If we don't see warnings, you know, at a point, I might wrap for a bit and go back to half hour. But trying to stick with this here, even though my voice does kind of hurt a little after, you know, doing this for so long. But it's all about protecting you, your friends, your family. Cross city area up to Branford, Horseshoe Beach and the like. But again, just to kind of reiterate here, I know St. Augustine, I definitely, you know, we'll be watching some of that come on in Baker County too. And then, you know, Lakeland there, they'll be, you know, monitoring things. Yeah, they're right on the edge of the slight risk, 2 out of 5. That's going to be more about the wind risk down there in, you know, in theory. Again, continuing to track things. We had that warning in Georgia go away. Still some wind enhancement north of Folkestone. We'll watch that. And getting some gusty winds here. Let me see if I can get our camera up. 14, 13 miles an hour. See if I can pull this in here. I know it's a little bit brighter, but you can at least see the trees blowing some. Some of these gustier winds, the barometric pressure at about 1,007.5 millibars. Again, showing you guys a window to the world here per se, with these elements here. Again, that's a look out where I'm at. East to start looking back west. Got a lot of wind aloft. You saw these brighter colors back here, but it's about how much gets down to the surface. This storm is not in a good radar spot down here around Cross City, but let me see if we can pull some cameras in there in that area. In parts of Dixie County. I'm gonna go ahead and pull a camera in here a little bit blurrier, but try to pull it on in. Again, trying to tell that story. Letting you guys know about what's going on. By the way, freeze watch just got issued there for parts of southeast Georgia, parts of Ware and Charlton, Brantley, Clint's. That's going to be for the morning of the 18th, so not tonight, and some of those spots further down, but I know freeze warning does continue up toward like Atkins and Coffee for tonight. Definitely something we're watching the overall pattern with as we're looking and tracking. Again, everybody, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate Nicole watching there on YouTube and the other viewers here like John. Just trying to give you guys the very latest. In Duval County, we have that warning for Clay and Duval to 145. See if they extend that warning or not. Again, this warning goes till 2:30 for portions of Lafayette and Dixie. A lot of areas under that. Cross City, Horseshoe Point, Swanee, as well as Horseshoe Beach, Sandrock. You have Cross City Airport, Old Town, Hatch Bend, Yellow Jacket, Fanning Springs. At Augusta 45 there on Live Oak at 115. Further to the north, of course. Okay, they're going to expire that warning for Duval and Clay because they're not seeing as much with that. Yeah, it looks like it's definitely lost some organization, which is good news in terms of that wind threat. So, got that main kind of line back in here now. But as we're looking, as we're tracking, I know things that, points have gotten more muddied, but you're able to see that we have some of that cool air trying to get on into the picture here. Back behind, you see the temperature contrast, 82 on Ocala, but 59 in Tallahassee. So it does tell that weather story for sure. So, what we're going to do, we're going to continue to gather more information at that, with that warning on Duval going away. We still got this line out toward Lake City. We still got this warning down here. It's kind of hard to see how intense it is on radar because further away. But Branford, the Cross City area, Horseshoe Beach, still be on guard here and be, inside away from windows. And then we're going to be watching as the progression happens. We'll have more updates here. If there's a new tornado warning issue, it'll be back on at once, obviously, with the very latest information here to protect you, your friends, and your family. So just keep it tuned here. I'll keep you guys up to date. And I'll keep you guys up to date here as we're tracking the overall situation here. Just be mindful here in terms of just paying attention. But high perimeter generally, getting a little bit further displaced, but Of course, we get another tornado warning. We'll be back on immediately. Otherwise, if it's something a little bit less pertinent, might still pop back in pretty soon. But otherwise, it'll be 2 o'clock with our next update. So, new tornado watch, for next little bit for areas to the east here. So, be vigilant. We'll be back here by 2 p.m. with another update. Keep it tuned to Cloud Weather. I'll keep you guys up to date. Significant advisory now for portions of Duval and Clay and Nassau and Camden Glen until 2:15. So be careful out there. Again, I'll have more here by 2 o'clock. Stay tuned. In the last half decade or so, our area and the region have been through a lot. Stay safe, but it's going to be memorable. I was there around 4 p.m. to document them. Life-threatening situation here. So, again, that's the storyline there. Oh, I think we just had another power flash. Another power flash. Sometimes Bradford County is a tough spot to see a spin-up tornado, so we just want you to go ahead and be inside and away from windows. Can't even completely run a quick spin-up tornado, so things have started to escalate here. Please take shelter. This is going to cause a lot of damage. Radar-confirmed tornado in southeastern Georgia. We're seeing areas there around Perry bear the brunt of this, coming into these communities and ravaging them. That's what we got to get you guys out. You got to run from that water. You got to evacuate. You got to follow these orders. This is as serious of a situation I've seen. This is the eye wall. This is where some of the worst of the weather is. When hazardous weather threatens, trust Clouds Weather.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Back here in the Weather Center, meteorologist Casey Cloud tracking the severe weather situation across the area. We did just see a new severe thunderstorm warning there go into play for portions of Clay, Putnam, and St. John's there until about 2:30 this afternoon. So watching that very carefully here as that timeline does move along. And I'm trying to give you guys the very latest on everything. That's severe thunderstorm warning in play here. Let me go ahead and switch sources. Maybe to see what we're talking about here. Go ahead and zoom in. See some wind enhancement here, southwest of St. Augustine, southeast of Sun Garden. And we have some wind enhancement here. Not a warning, but we did get a gust there toward the St. Johns River area, Jackson AS there, 61 miles an hour on 148. So didn't actually have a warning at that time, I don't think. But we had some gusty winds moving on in there as we were tracking the situation. So worth noting. Also now, Central Florida, severe thunderstorm warning down there out of our area. But in our area, we have this severe warning here. Reports of Lafayette and Dixie until 2:30. 60-mile-an-hour wind gust possible there. And you have a report of some damage in Lafayette County. A tree and a line down near County Road 354 and Sunrose Road. So some important information to bear in mind. Let's see, WJCT in Jacksonville measured a 44-mile-an-hour wind gust at 140. We had a 43-mile-an-hour gust there, Jacksonville Craig, around 155. So some high wind gusts here in some of these different areas. And right now, two formal warnings here. One does include St. Augustine there in St. Johns County. As we're tracking to about 2:30 at 158, a severe thunderstorm was located over Bostwick or near Hastings, moving northeast at 50 miles an hour. St. Augustine, Hastings, St. Augustine Beach, Villano Beach, Piccolata, Bostwick, Federal Point, South Ponte Vedra, St. Augustine Shores, and Butler Beach under this. And then as you see back toward the west here, it's a situation where you have this yellow box, Lafayette and Dixie till 2:30. Again, as I was alluding to earlier on, it's a little bit harder to see off the Doppler down that way, as we're pretty far away on all of them. But that stuff's moving toward Trenton and Gainesville in general, though it may be weakening, and it might be more that other line out ahead's dominant now. So we'll have to kind of watch for that. That's possible, too, that this is becoming more dominant here. You have the out ahead, and then that kind of fades. But it's hard to say because we're further back on the radar on some of this. But we'll watch some of this in like Levy County here and Alachua, and then up into, Union and Bradford counties. So we have to try to watch for the next little bit. Technically it's 8 o'clock, but it won't last that long here for our area. They'll probably be dropping all of our counties, Flagler, Marion, Levy, our southern flank, probably by about 5, maybe 5:30 if they keep it a little later. But the threat should be over by 5 is what I've been talking about for a while. Might even be a little bit earlier than that. So something to bear in mind. Let me go ahead and keep looking here at the Doppler information as we keep you up to date here. We keep you up to date here on the situation, keeping you guys informed as that timeline does tick on by, obviously. Definitely trying to let you guys know what's happening, what we're dealing with here on the local level here with the meteorology. So, again, just trying to keep you guys informed here. Just going between all the different tools that we have here in the toolkit. Strong thunderstorms there through 2:45 for parts of Merriam, Flagler, Putnam, St. John's. So kind of telling that weather story. Just trying to be vigilant about that, of course, as the situation does progress. Again, looking there west of I-95. Got that wind enhancement moving towards St. Augustine and towards St. Johns County. Some of the stuff in eastern Duval moving off. Again, we have this back here. Moving in, we'll have some lightning here and it's dark pretty soon. Let's pull up our camera, I guess. Be a good move here. Let me get that ready. So you'll look outside and it's a little bit, windy for sure. Can't see darker skies as well on this, but you'll be able to see the wind at least. We don't actually have a warning for Stark. It's, something we have some advisories, but that wind around, you see, just west of Stark, some of that potential though. You can see here as we look aloft, about 60 miles an hour with the wind aloft. Now, not all that transporting down toward the surface though, so. If you look toward the east, you see here west of St. Augustine. Some of that I know. In terms of the national storyline today, we were supposed to have, just a really overwhelming severe risk up north. Now, they're seeing some severe risk, but not as bad as it could have been at this point in time. But that could always change. A lot of that's more in eastern North Carolina, not quite as far west as thought. And we'll have to see, it's looking like, that could help some folks, but we'll see. Up that way, it only takes one really violent type of storm to cause big, big problems. Again, letting you guys know what we're dealing with here. Trying to keep you informed. Looking at the maps. You see around Gainesville. Looks like some wind enhancement there now. Gainesville to Paradise. That's something interesting. I-75 just east of that a little bit. This is the last few frames, seeing some of that come together just a tad. So again, just continuing to watch these different areas here on the Doppler radar. Again, moving toward I-95 in St. Augustine over the next little bit. Again, yeah, it looks like, you can't tell because that one word of warning is, it's more distorted. But it kind of looks like that's falling off, and then there are more dominance here out ahead here. And after this moves through, your severe threat really starts to kind of come to that end there. So in that case, let me do some measurements. Probably about, for a whole area, that's probably about 2 hours until the severe threat comes to an end. But we'll say 5 to be safe. And the watch goes all the way to 8. But, that seems they might end up, what they might end up doing is, getting rid of our counties, but then doing a local extension for like into the Orlando counties later. If things ain't around there, it's in the mid-80s there still. So we shall see. Again, giving you guys the latest here. We're in Bradford County watching the scenario here. And we do have an advisory, some gusty winds upward of about 50 miles an hour possible as we're looking coming in from the west right now. So let's see some of that. By the way, they had a gust of 51 there, a lot to Archer Mesonet Station at 2 o'clock there in North Alachua County. Got a marine warning issued there also from Altamaha Sound, Fernandina Beach out 20 nautical miles. Some gusty winds out that way. As the situation does, progress here. Again, going through things with the data here. Okay, new advisory parts of Bradford and Baker and Clay, Marion, Union. You kind of get the idea. That's going to go out to about 3 o'clock, 50-mile-an-hour winds and hail to about 1/4 inch in diameter. So not quite the severe limits here, but still pretty strong moving on through Bradford County and the like. And then you have severe, though, out towards St. John's. If we didn't already have that warning, probably wouldn't be on, if we didn't have this warning and the other warning. But, that keeps us, really in a spot where, since we have the warnings, we'll, be talking about this other area in between, some that's just, barely below severe limits. So again, continuing to look at things, continuing to give you the very latest. See some rotation again in Central Florida. We had this yesterday afternoon, a little bit later. And then we have to be watching stuff around Lake Mary again today. Depends on how things come together on the hyperlocal level, but again, continuing to give you the very latest. If it's not a tornado situation, not something overwhelming, I kind of hate just to stick with it the whole time here. I mean, I could, but, a situation here where I've been on since 5 a.m., on and off, so I want to make sure I'm ready in case we get something to really ramp up. And obviously, the time of severe situation with a severe thunderstorm warning or actually getting another tornado warning here, something like that. So, got some stronger storms moving into North Bradford. Oh, I don't like, I don't like that around Gainesville. I know it's further away on the radar, but that's the type of circulation here that could actually get us a tornado warning there. If you're around the Gainesville airport area, give or take, it's maybe really high up and it may not be anything close to reaching, but, I'm just thinking about if I hear a freight train noise, just be, really ready there right near the Gainesville airport. Just in case. It's pretty far up, so I kind of doubt, it's happening like that, but that is a spin there. I wish we had a radar closer. Okay, we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning now for Camden and Glen. Okay, Camden and Glen now. Severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to go till 2:30 p.m. As I'm looking at the situation here, as I'm tracking it, just getting some latest details on in here. North Central Camden, Southeastern Glen until 2:30 this afternoon. At 2:11, a severe thunderstorm was looking near Sea Island or same with St. Simon's Island, moving northeast at about 50 miles an hour, 60-mile-an-hour wind gust and penny-sized hail. Brunswick, St. Simon's Island, Dock Junction, St. Simon's Island Village, Country Club Estate, Sea Island, and Boys Estates. So that's kind of the storyline right now. Let me check the wind mode. So we have that warning here locally, that warning, and that warning. So 3 local warnings, but not tornadic. So we're just going to keep monitoring things. If we get a tornado warning, we're going to jump back in immediately. I would watch down here in Alachua, some of that structure there. Most of Fairbanks, and then some just little spins here and there. I definitely, definitely pay attention here. Definitely pay attention here in this type of situation. But we're going to gather more information. Be back at 2:30. So keep it tuned here to Cloud Weather. I'll keep you updated again. If I need to break back in before 2:30, I will, of course. But for now, I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. Again, just trying to keep you guys informed, obviously, here throughout the afternoon with this inclement weather, these inclement conditions. It's about protecting you, your friends, your family here. It is so important here. On this Monday, there's some thunder here east of Stark, so that's something to take note of with some of that electrical energy around. So just be mindful of that. I'll be back in about 15 minutes with more, unless I need to pop back in sooner with an urgent situation like a tornado warning. Stay safe. In the last half decade or so, our area and the region have been through a lot. Stay safe, but it's going to be memorable. I was there around 4 p.m. to document them. Life-threatening situation here. So, again, that's the storyline there. Oh, I think we just had another power blast. Another power blast. Sometimes Bradford County is a tough spot to see spin-up tornadoes, so we just want you to go ahead and be inside and away from windows. Can't even completely rule out quick spin-up tornadoes. The things have started to escalate here. Please take shelter. This is going to cause a lot of damage. Radar-confirmed tornado in southeastern Georgia. We're seeing areas there around Perry. Bear the brunt of this coming into these communities and ravaging them. That's what we got to get you guys out. You got to run from that water. You got to evacuate. You got to follow these orders. This is as serious of a situation as I've seen. This is the eye wall. This is where some of the worst of the weather is. When hazardous weather threatens, trust Cloud's weather.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Meteorologist Casey Cloud back at the bottom of the hour. It is 2:30. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning now. We're following down toward Flagler County, also Putnam, St. John's here. I see in a situation where there's even some weak rotation. I know we had it pop up on the map here. Wasn't a tornado warning, so I didn't want to jump right in since, it's something here where we do have to remain alert for that. And if we get that, we have to stay on pretty much wall to wall. But as a situation where there is some weak rotation, the Weather Service is urging us to remain alert for a possible tornado, as tornadoes can develop quickly from severe thunderstorms. And if you spot a tornado, go at once into that small central room in a sturdy structure. So really don't want to be outside though, even to be able to spot that. But some rotation there between Crescent City and Bunnell there in toward parts of Flagler County this afternoon as our power's flickering here where we're at. We don't have a warning where we're at, by the way, but that lightning's an issue. I'll pull our camera back up where we're at here in a moment, but yeah, I can really hear that power flickering there. We have some backup systems, so I think we're still on here as we're looking and as we're tracking. But let's see that rotation there toward Flagler County. You see south and west of Bunnell there. As we're looking at the situation. You can see some of that moving toward the Bunnell area over the next little bit. We'll have to just see if that organizes further as that moves on up in toward areas there like Beverly Beach and the like. So we'll have to see if we get a tornado warning. Obviously, that'd be, more concerning if we do. Got stuff down to the south. Some of that might stay just south of the area there. We have a bunch of advisories. We've had some of this wind coming through here. Not a warning, but we just had, we're having a gust of 23. So it's pretty high. So let's go ahead and see if we can get that camera up. I know we had that warning up in Camden and Glencoe way. We got this stuff coming through here that looks pretty intense. I mean, it's just kind of popping up here, on this loft. I mean, I don't think it's reaching as much. I mean, we just kind of had it, but it's not reaching that level. But let me go ahead and see if I can get that camera up. We're going to go ahead and throw that on up here right now. Here, you to start looking back toward the west here. We'll take our severe thunderstorm warning. Well, I'll go ahead and take it full because, it takes it off. But there's our storm here, significant advisory in toward parts of Bradford. You see the dark skies, the trees blowing around, the water on the, on the window in this case here, telling that with a story with some of these more, nasty conditions, right around that time, where you have to pick up your kids from school, something like that. This is not exactly the weather you want to be at, and if whether it's severe warned or not. This isn't exactly ideal weather conditions to be talking about here as we're looking at things and as we're tracking them. So, again, giving you guys the very latest here with our weather concern today. We have the tornado watch here in Bradford, significant advisory. So, again, just continuing to give you the very latest. I know I got all my different things going here. So let me take that on back real quick. We'll go back to full. And then we'll take that on off. But you can see the trees blowing around here. East to Stark, looking back to the west and north. Pressure got down to 1,007. Way under 1,007 for a minute there. Millibars. So that's pretty low on the barometer as we're looking, as we're tracking things. Let's get back over. We don't have a warning here per se around Stark. We've had some weak rotation and stuff and some of that stuff, so it's worth following. A little bit of weak rotation there east to Hampton there, crossing 100. Not overwhelming, but something a little bit weak. But we have our warning down here. That's why I got the thing on it around Bunnell. There's some pretty strong wind coming on in there. By the way, let me go ahead and check the last 10 minutes here on the Weather Stem site. Let me go ahead and see what they have at the sheriff's office there in terms of the Weather Stem information. And that's a situation here where the numbers look like about 23 miles an hour, and that's what I had actually. Now 24 for them and 23 from me here last little bit. So, as we're looking at some of those winds, they're not to the 60 range. That's why we don't have a warning, but some of that aloft is up there, and some of that does translate. By the way, the tornado watch has just been canceled for Dixie and Lafayette. if you guys were wondering about that. So again, continuing to watch. Now, to be completely honest, obviously can't quite give the all clear to Bradford yet with the tornado watch, but if you're in Union, let me take our severe thunderstorm warning information off, but if you're in Union, we're kind of pretty much about to trim that tornado watch out for you guys already. I know it just got issued for you not that long ago, but Bradford's still a little bit longer, maybe another hour or something like that here. You see around Flagler County, we see that severe thunderstorm warning. But yeah, our main predominant line is kind of in here. Once this passes you by, Woodbine, Kingsland, Brunswick, St. George, Baldwin, McClinney, Hugh, Laurie, Stark, Brooker, you see areas a lot to Gainesville, Bronson. Once that passes you by, your severe threat should pretty much be over here for this event. So that'd be good news. And it's going to get very chilly tonight, as I've alluded to. We'll be watching that potential, obviously, here for you. Let me go ahead and switch it back on over to the storm in Flagler County here with some of that wind enhancement around the Bunnell area, just west of I-95. We're watching that. Again, we're watching these storms here in Bradford County. So that wind enhancement, definitely worth noting. Looks like a report of a wire down there, 219th Street here, and County Road 225 around Stark. Just coming in over the last 10 minutes or so. Also a report of a wire down around Brooker. There's a fire smoke investigation in Bradford. I don't know if that had anything to do with the weather. We also had a report of a wire down there on 178th Drive and County Road 225 in Stark earlier. So, they're causing some issues here, according to the Bradford County Sheriff's Office information. Again, continuing to keep you up to date. Let me go ahead and jump back down to the south. And then we'll move over here. Again, giving you guys the very latest here on what we're dealing with. Again, trying to keep you up to date. Trying to keep you informed. Gotta be careful around I-95 there in this type of inclement situation. Just gotta be paying attention. Let me get some cameras up. Some torrential rain, maybe some hail mixing in there but now and the like. The severe thunderstorm warning situation, and there's an airport weather warning up toward Jacksonville there as well, by the way. Some of this stuff coming on in as we're tracking. Let me go ahead and see what I can pull up. You see some of the darker skies there, top left. Telling that story. Looks like we just got a report out of Gainesville Airport. Let me see this here. It looks like a gust of 61 just reported out of the west in the last few minutes. That would obviously make that a severe thunderstorm, as we give you guys the very latest. Would make that a severe thunderstorm as we look toward Alachua County. Let me go ahead and put up some more information. Yeah. Wow. Look at that. 61 there. 55 Keystone Heights Airport here. So these are some really strong winds coming on in, stronger than what maybe being accounted for then, because probably said if it's a bit thunderstorm warning through here then with those type of winds as we're looking and as we're tracking. It's a little surprising to see those two numbers here without a warning. You hardly ever get wind like that around here without a warning, so you may get a warning here for this. Those are pretty impressive numbers. 55 miles an hour there at Keystone Airport, 61 Gainesville. These are confirmed wind gusts. We don't have a formal warning here, but that's some really strong wind. Probably going to be knocking out some power. So just be very mindful here as things evolve, as things develop here. Again, let me go ahead and switch back on over right now to our other mode. I know trying to give you guys the very latest. Let me go ahead and pull this on in. You can see some of that wind and the like here, some of that rain as the situation does progress. You can see the camera there, definitely those nasty conditions. Definitely telling that story. Looks like we just got a new warning here. Looks like we just got a new warning. Okay, so that's going to be for parts of Alachua, Putnam, and Marion, down in here actually. It's going to be at 3:30 at 2:41. A severe thunderstorm was looking at 10 miles east of Williston, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. Citra, Hawthorne, Spar, Anthony, Rochelle, Cross Creek, Orange Springs, Micanopy, Reddick, and McIntosh. So watching that down there. Which will look, some of those areas a little bit further south. Again, keeping you up to date here. Updating you on the scenario. It's always important to be mindful of what's going on. Again, keeping you guys up to date. Going through the very latest here. Again, all about protecting you, your friends, your family. I'm going to go ahead and keep looking here. Again, you rarely see the METAR report 55 and 61 like that. But there you go. That definitely can cause some power outages. We're really starting to see some of those show up here. Okay, so wow, makes you a little concerned here with some of this because numbers are pretty high for not really having the warnings in here around Bradford. Because, we've been with you on and off, obviously, but if we'd have had a warning, we'd have stuck with this a little longer. But you see how it had some of that wind aloft. It must have been reaching a little bit more than we thought to have a 55 at 61. And now I'm seeing a good number, unfortunately, of power outages. That 55 gust at 2:35 at Keystone Airport, 61 at 2:36 at Gainesville Airport. So again, that's confirmed in the 161. That's confirmed severe. The others, that's one of the higher gusts I've seen at Keystone Airport, to be completely honest here with you. So I'm going to get Clay Electric's outage map up here for you. Give me just 1 second. There's over 15,000 customers now in the dark here as we're looking and as we're tracking. By the way, new warning now for portions of Duval. You see it on the map here, Duval, Clay, Nassau, St. John's until 3:15. Let me go ahead and do the Clay Electric map up though. As you see here, we have about 2,000 customers in the dark now. As we look toward the Southern Union vicinity, we have about 2,000 between Newberry and Gainesville in the dark. About 1,000 there in the dark as we look toward the Green Cove Springs area. So in total, that totals 15,000. And so in Bradford at 694. Let me take that off for a second. I'm going to try to make that a little bit bigger for everybody. But first, let's get up here with our new warning. And I guess over 60 in Duval here a little earlier on. By the way, tornado warning in South Carolina now. Georgetown County, not our area, of course, but just seeing it pop up, so I'd mention it real quick. You see a severe thunderstorm warning here toward Duval now. This just got issued. Central Nassau, northwestern St. John, northern Clay, and Duval until 3:15. At 2:44, a severe thunderstorm was looking at over Normandy near Jacksonville, moving northeast at 55 miles an hour. Jacksonville, Orange Park, Green Cove Springs, Jacksonville Airport, Arlington, Ponte Vedra Beach, UNF, Mandarin, Fruit Cove, and Middleburg. So I know it's interesting. Some of these winds finally start reaching, with the verification right, here in north central Florida. We've had that stuff on radar quite a bit today, and it really hadn't measured. So sometimes the atmosphere, things can start to just reach here with certain types of parameters as we're looking and as we're tracking. But let me go back over to the other mode here. You can see over 8,000 customers on Clay Electric in the dark in Alachua County right now. That's 31% of their customers. Baker County, about 566 customers without electricity. Bradford at 694 on Clay Electric. Clay County is about almost 1,500. They had some issues with lightning yesterday. Different, story than maybe what we're seeing now. I'm not sure, but Columbia County over 750 customers in the dark. Levy County a handful. Marion about over 500, Putnam a little less than that, and Union's at about 57% of the customers out there in toward parts of their zone there. You see over 4,000 customers there served. We have over 2,000 customers impacted. So quite a few people without power, over 15,000 on the Clay Electric grid alone. Okay, we just got a new warning now popping up. I know it's quite honestly a little on the later side with some of these. As we're tracking things, but, it's based on what we've seen. Now, realizing these winds actually are reaching. You see this warning going all the way to the coast now. Bradford, Alachua, St. John's, Putnam, and Clay until about 3:45. At 2:47, severe thunderstorms are located along a line extending from near Kingsley to Rochelle, moving east at 55 miles an hour. St. Augustine, Palatka, Green Cove Springs, Interlochen, Keystone Heights, Hastings, Melrose, East Palatka, Ward Golf Village, and St. Augustine Beach. So, again, watching that very carefully here. And watching that very carefully here in the Weather Center. I know, again, I appreciate everybody tuning in, trusting me. You can kind of see here as we look at the Doppler algorithms. We're trying to, monitor things you see in Duval County there. Seeing some wind enhancement there right near US 23. Very weak, but there's a little weak rotation there right just east of US 17. Some wind enhancement are definitely causing all this wind aloft's getting down to cause these gusts in the 50-60 range here, which is, kind of concerning. We don't generally see those actually verify, especially when we didn't even have a warning in play. We had the advisory. We were giving you updates and talking about the other areas, but had a gust of 25 last 10 minutes at the Bradford weather stem, but we had a gust of 55 there at Keystone Airport there at 35 past, and then at about 36 past, we had a gust of 61 there at Gainesville Airport. So probably have a higher number of power outages here soon as we're tracking. And real quick, just to the north, you have a tornado warning way up in South Carolina in this pattern here. But as we get back here locally, you can see what we're dealing with in over Duval and Clay and Western Putnam, Southern Alachua, Marion, and then more clustering in the north parts of Flagler County there on Palm Coast of Bunnell. Got some of those storms in toward that zone. So, yeah, hopefully you charge your devices up as we recommended here. A lot of you losing power now. unfortunately, these, we've seen all the winds aloft, and they really hadn't been verifying. And all of a sudden, then they started verifying right here in north central Florida with a gust confirmed. Gust to 61 around Gainesville at 36 past, and at 35 past a gust to 55 at Keystone Airport, which those are, I've seen Gainesville high like that. Keystone, that's one of the higher ones I remember in a while. I mean, 60 is your severe, really 58, but not quite to that. But again, we have some severe weather going on here this afternoon. Again, giving you guys the very latest here on the situation. So we have now, let's see, we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4 warnings here in the area. We have until 3:15, we have until 3:45, 3:30, and let's see here, 3 o'clock for the expiration. So that's kind of the storyline right now. That's kind of the storyline at this point in time. Again, now, if you're in Lake City, your severe threat is over there in Lake City. Same west of McClinney, all this light to moderate stuff. Probably let's call it more moderate here. That, your severe threat's over. Your temperature's, cooling down. We're down to 65 for East of Stark, and, the cool down's kind of on. I mean, let's see what they are in Lake City. Well, it's not showing right now. I wonder if their site's down, but you see down in the 50s already around Tallahassee. Albany's in the 50s and the 40s. Alabama already in the 30s around Montgomery, upper 30s. So what a cool down there as we look and as we track things. Again, continuing to watch, continuing to track. And we had a gust here about 238. Similar as the other two gusts. It was only the 26th though. My point timing similar, but our anemometer is way lower than theirs. So extrapolate that out, and you could see at least maybe something like, if it was higher up, it might be a 45 type gust or something at least. But as we look and as we track, you see these gusts there. That's the latest, Gainesville Airport 50, but this is a little earlier there, Naval Air Station. You see Jacksonville Airport, a gust earlier on. Well, not that much earlier on. About 10 minutes ago to 52 miles an hour. So again, keeping you up to date there. Check the Clay County outage map here. Oh boy, it's really going up. This wind is really taking off here, folks, rapidly. It's kind of, the way it evolved here is a little bit, I don't want to say shocking, but it's a little surprising. And the tornado watch, but you don't always get this around here to just pop up like this. We've almost doubled our Clay County outage number, or excuse me, our Clay Electric outage numbers. A lot of those in Clay County, but let me go ahead and jump back on over here. You can see Clay County was 13,000 customers in the dark. Bradford County close to 1,000. Alachua County over 8,000. Putnam County over 1,000. Union over 2,000. So pretty noteworthy there for sure this afternoon. With the outages, we're not out. We had our power flicker, but we have it on here East of Stark. Clay Electric here, and that's the storyline. But our severe threat here in Stark is pretty much over now. I mean, far southern Bradford, not quite officially over, but it's getting close as this moves on out there. As we look and as we track, again, you see here, we had this wind come through. We've had these signatures kind of all day, but the way this developed in between, I mean, the Weather Service was caught by surprise on it, it seems, and we had the advisory for winds to 50, but I didn't really think it was reaching to 60 like this either, to be quite honest with you. We didn't emphasize it like, I would have if I really thought this was actually verifying, but it obviously seems to have been an issue here for us this afternoon, but with all those power outages showing on up. So again, we're getting this act together in terms of getting that wind down toward the surface. Thunderstorm wind damage in Levy County around the Aldi and Bells. Apparently a tree fell That's around Chiefland there. Probably, I guess that Aldi would be, formerly Winn-Dixie there in Chiefland. Again, a tree fell there in front of Aldi and Belden, US 19 around 1:24 this afternoon. Levy County, according to public reports. So, again, I'm just trying to keep you guys up to date on all that. Keep you guys informed, obviously, as the situation does evolve. I'm just trying to let you know what's happening. Gust to 43 miles an hour in the Middleburg area at 250. So again, continuing to give you the updates. Again, these storms here, you see the progressing. So we're continuing to watch all that here for you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to gather more information, be back here in just a few minutes at 3 o'clock. So keep it tuned right here. I know that's only a couple minutes away, but I'm going to gather more details. Be back here soon on cloud weather. Gust to 48 miles an hour, Flagler County at 250. So yeah, still seeing some of those stories being told there by some of the different anemometers. I'll have more here in just a few minutes. Keep it tuned right here to cloud weather. In the last half decade or so, our area and the region have been through a lot. Stay safe, but it's going to be memorable. I was there around 4 p.m. to document them. Life-threatening situation here. So, again, that's the storyline there. Oh, I think we just had another power blast. Another power blast. Sometimes Bradford County is a tough spot to see a spin-up tornadoes, so we just want you to go ahead and be inside and away from windows. Can't even completely rule out a quick spin-up tornado, so things have started to escalate here. Please take shelter. This is going to cause a lot of damage. Radar-confirmed tornado in southeastern Georgia. We're seeing areas there around Perry bear the brunt of this, coming into these communities and ravaging them. That's what we got to get you guys out. You got to run from that water. You got to evacuate. You got to follow these orders. This is as serious of a situation I've seen. This is the eye wall. This is where some of the worst of the weather is. When hazardous weather threatens, trust clouds weather.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Back here at the top of the hour, it's 3 o'clock. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud. Seeing some gusts here that are in the 40, 50 range, give or take, in Duval County. Just had a gust, in fact, at 52 there, 4 mile east, southeast of Bryceville here. Again, these are some strong to severe conditions. That looks like severe to me there on that latest scanner. So we're starting to see that evolve right there. And it just added a considerable now. Just now, Weather Service and Jax went considerable with these type of wind signatures here. Moving on in right around State Road A1A. This is now showing winds of 60 to 70 just off the ground here. And when this went around the airport area, maybe the worst, was just kind of getting going. But now it looks like that's really evolving there from just north of Mayport to American Beach. That corridor there is not the most populated, but that is, these bright colors are indicative of very significant winds here. Considerable damage situation. At about 3 o'clock, a severe thunderstorm was looking at over Fort Carolina near Arlington, moving northeast at about 55 miles an hour. Expect considerable tree damage. Damage is likely to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings here. UNF, Ponte Vedra Beach, you see some of this going further down. It's not as strong with the velocity colors, but UNF, Ponte Vedra Beach, Arlington, Fruit Cove, Jax Beach, Atlantic Beach, Neptune Beach, Sawgrass, Bay Meadows, and Mayport. So again, just continuing to track all this here with the overall situation. Continuing to see that potential there with the overall signatures on the Doppler radar. So as we get back to the south now, we had that gust at the airport there in Keystone. Looks like we had another one here to 54, at least on the anemometer here very recently. You see all this accident. It almost looks like it's starting to kind of weaken just a little bit here. Some of it after it had, really pulsed up a little right there into where north central Florida with the wind speeds didn't, it wasn't even warned here as that happened, to be quite honest. I mean, you see it on the velocity, but sometimes we've seen these signatures, they don't actually reach, but this one did. We had that gust to severe before we had a yellow box pop up there. As we look, I know it's showing a little bit weird in the timeline, but it's still before we had the severe. And in Keystone, it's that similar storyline there. As we look and as we track, I know, because that happened around 35 past the hour. And we didn't get the warning there. Again, that's actually is sub-severe, but that warning didn't actually come out till 2:47. So, again, a little bit tricky sometimes is what I'm trying to allude to. Looks like around Marion County now there might be some weak rotation or at least some wind enhancement northwest of Ocala. We're also getting a report there of tree snap near St. George Elementary School in St. George, Georgia, around 2:12 p.m. this afternoon. So these storms really all of a sudden took that escalation here. I know we're getting a couple tornado warnings in the Carolinas. Not as bad as what we thought could happen so far, but there's still time for that to change. But right now, not as bad as it could have happened. But I know in the state of Florida, the power, the numbers are just exploding, increasing upward here. And as we're tracking, I know Bradford County, we're in a situation here where we have, according to Power.us, 806 customers in the dark, according to, that for Clay Electric. And for Florida Power and Light Company, it's 227 customers. So that's a good number of customers in the dark here, unfortunately. And Alachua County now, according to Power.us, is doing 17,293 customers of that electricity there. That is a significant amount in Alachua County. Putnam's a little over 2,000. Gilchrist is close to 2,000. Levy's over 1,000. Dixie's over 1,000. Union's almost 2,500. So, what a mess here this afternoon. I mean, where we're at, it's a little over 1,000 here in Bradford County, but just some of these other areas around a little bit worse, even as that wind really pulsed up right here as it got, in more north central Florida. It seemed it looked like it on radar, but it actually was transferring down toward the surface in some of these spots. So, not we want to deal with. We still got to watch to see if we get a legitimate spin here on the eastern zones here of the covered area as we look ahead and toward the timeline. But again, just giving you guys the very latest, keeping you guys informed here, just letting you guys know. Again, monitoring the situation very carefully. You see this pop up convection. So many different areas of focus. Again, just scrubbing back, going forward. This is some really strong wind there about Mayport Naval Facility area, give or take. So again, just trying to give you guys the very latest here. Gotta watch for some weak rotation in some of this area here as we look and as we track. Just be mindful of that. You know, don't want to have a quick spin up tornado or something in this area on Ponte Vedra Beach, Sawgrass. We don't have the players there anymore, but I'm sure folks are probably still cleaning up from all that. You know, as we had that big event there the last several days at TPC Sawgrass. So some strong winds going into toward that area right now as we look, as we track. Let me go ahead and look down here. Still watching some of this. Watching the different algorithms here on that Doppler. Again, definitely something worth noting. Continuing to give you updates. Citrus, Hernandez, Sumter, severe thunderstorm warning. Hilliard, by the way, a gas pump on and had blown loose there. Thunderstorm wind damage around 2:30 around Hilliard. So again, continuing to track all this here. These are all bright here. Winds right there. Ponte Vedra Beach, Jacks Beach, Atlantic Beach. Toward Mayport Naval Facility. Definitely in that organization and the wind mode of the Doppler is pretty impressive, unfortunately. As the situation does transpire, does evolve here. So again, just keeping you up to date. 52-mile Augusta Cal Airport there about 3:04 p.m. Helping to tell the story about what kind of winds might be reaching the surface. Again, it's very impactful for some folks. Again, still with you here. See what we might have in terms of other updates. Just the Clay, Duval, and Alachua are leading the way here in the state in terms of power outages right now. It's Clay at 13,000 customers or so in the dark. Alachua about 11,000 or so. In Duval County, almost 4,000 without electricity. So that is all noteworthy here. These winds right there at the coast. Let's see what we can pull up. Let's pull this view up here in eastern Duval, Florida 501 perspective. I'm going to take it full. Definitely telling that story with these inclement conditions. You can see things don't look too good out there right now in eastern Duval County in general. Definitely something to take note of. By the way, I had a gust of 53 around Palm Coast at 2:50 p.m. Again, a lot of subsevere, but there have been some, that one in Duval. We had a gust there to severe, and we had one in Alachua to severe as well. So, again, very much worth noting, obviously, as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things. But this is Florida 511 perspective right here. Again, you see some of our little areas of wind in here. Some areas of wind right near the coast. Right there, I hope nobody's, on spring break out there right at the coast like this, because there's some really nasty winds. Probably knocking down quite a few trees there. Somewhere within this corridor. Atlantic Beach, you see Jack's Beach, you see Ponte Vedra Beach, you see Sawgrass here with some very strong winds on this activity. You have some stuff down here that's pretty impressive, but not as impressive as some of the signatures further to the north right now. We do have warnings all the way into Marion, and then you get down over like Citrus and the like. So another gust of 61 at NAS Jacks there, apparently at 2:59 p.m., which is noteworthy and concerning. Definitely towing that weather story there for sure. Not a fun one, obviously, when you have that type of wind in play. Again, continuing to give you the latest. Again, updating you on all the details here. Again, trying to keep you up to date. Trying to keep you informed. Severe thunderstorm warning continues. Canton a lot to it, but a little bit of Bradford still under this one. As we're looking as we track parts of Clay, parts of Putnam and St. John's. So you kind of see that here. It's interesting to see a little bit of the Keystone Thrust area still under this, but I guess we had that gust earlier on. They're trying to be on the safer side with that just in case. Again, looking here. So areas of a lot to cancel on that, but portions of Bradford, St. John's, Putnam, and Clay until 3:45 with that severe thunderstorm warning. See this severe thunderstorm warning. This stuff getting off into the coastal waters now. That's good there toward the first coast. So still gotta be careful down in here as well. Northern Marion, some weak rotation there. So definitely continuing to be vigilant and keeping you informed. So that's kind of the storyline there as things evolve. So we're going to be back here at 3:30 unless we need to pop back in sooner. So that'll wrap it up for now. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. Again, please stay safe. All this wind out there, not helpful. We've gotten about half an inch here east of Stark, by the way, in that rain gauge today. Just powdered, the numbers are starting to get more noteworthy. By the way, severe thunderstorm warning continues for Alachua, Marion, Putnam until about 3:30. So yeah, we are watching here. We're tracking. I'll be back here on more at 3:30 unless I need to pop back in sooner. Keep it tuned to Cloud Weather. I'll keep you guys up to date on our weather situation here impacting portions of the viewing area on this Monday, on this March 16th, 2026. It's been a busy one, and it continues to be for parts of the area. Please stay safe out there. Not great having some of this come through right during that, commute there in terms of getting those kids from school. So this definitely can be an issue here. Please, again, stay safe. I'll have more here at the bottom of the hour unless I need to pop back in sooner. In the last half decade or so, our area and the region have been through a lot. Stay safe, but it's going to be memorable. I was there around 4 p.m. to document them. Life-threatening situation here. So, again, that's the storyline there. Oh, I think we just had another power flash. Another power flash. Sometimes Bradford County is a tough spot to see spin-up tornadoes, so we just want you to go ahead and be inside and away from windows. Can't even completely rule out quick spin-up tornadoes. The things have started to escalate here. Please take shelter. This is going to cause a lot of damage. Radar confirmed tornado in southeastern Georgia. We're seeing areas there around Perry, bear the brunt of this, coming into these communities and ravaging them. That's what we got to get you guys out. You got to run from that water. You got to evacuate. You got to follow these orders. This is as serious of a situation as I've seen. This is the eye wall. This is where some of the worst of the weather is. When hazardous weather threatens, trust clouds weather.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Meteorologist Casey Cloud live with a 3:30 update on our severe weather. We're still tracking a couple severe thunderstorm warnings here in play for portions of the area. You do see areas of Putnam and St. John's here under severe thunderstorm warning at 3:45. We're talking about severe thunderstorms extending from their areas near the Ward Goff Village to near Barden, moving east at 55 miles an hour. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, penny-sized hail, St. Augustine, Palatka, also Hastings, East Palatka, Ward Goff Village, St. Augustine Beach, Villano Beach, Federal Point, South Ponte Vedra, and Crescent Beach. And then we have a situation as we look out toward areas there in Marion County here. We have some wind enhancement here that was, a little bit more visible a moment ago, but you'll be able to see that when I back it on up there around that Shady to Bellevue area, Silver Spring Shores. Seeing some wind enhancement in there. This is a severe thunderstorm warning for eastern Marion and southeastern Putnam until 4 p.m. So still watching here some of the activity on the Doppler. A lot of the areas are all clear for severe, but not everybody yet. Not everybody, as you still have some of those warnings here in play. So again, giving you guys the very latest, trying to keep you guys safe. You see how we have that cool air coming on in there from the west there, from the north. But we still have some warnings. We've had quite a few power outages here lately toward parts of the covered area. So let me look on some of those numbers here. Powder.us has Duval County leading the way at 18,000 customers or so. In the dark, Clay County second place in Florida with over 14,000 customers in the dark. And in Alachua County, almost 11,000. Marion County almost 5,000. Putnam County over 4,500. Union at 2,463. So in Bradford's at 1,228. So yeah, quite a few in the dark here this afternoon from these storms sweeping on through there, causing that wind there down toward the surface. Definitely, impactful here towards some of the different communities as we're looking and as we're tracking. Definitely noteworthy. Definitely, important to keep an eye on. I think we're starting to see these fall off a little bit now after they had upticked for a bit. So I'll loop this around you, how we had some stuff and then we really started to get the warnings in the middle. And now I think we're starting to see a little bit of a downtrend again, but can't guarantee it. So just remain on guard here for sure as I give you the very latest information. I'm going to check some things here real quick while I'm on this update. Just trying to let you guys know what we're doing with what's going on. Just so important to stay on top of things here in these type of scenarios. Just want to stay on top of these situations here, of course. We don't want to be in a a spot here where things could be a little bit more unfavorable here and catch us off guard. So again, I'm just trying to keep you guys up to date here. Keep you guys up to date. Going through some of the different sources here. We're just going to go ahead and check some things here. I'm just checking some things behind the scenes. Active afternoon here for sure. Again, going through some of the different sources here. Just checking here. Just a one-man band. Again, giving you these updates. Looking here out towards St. Johns County. Watching some wind enhancement there, parts of Marion County. And I'm going to loop this back around. Definitely seeing that progressing here, the storms. And I'm going to back this up some more. Just check some of our different echoes here from earlier. We did have some weak rotation here and there, but haven't had any tornado warnings in a while here as we're looking, anywhere really toward the eastern zones. The last tornado warning we had, let me see here. In our area, the last tornado warning we had was around the lunch hour, I believe. Irwin and Tipton, Georgia. Had a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings, but still been monitoring things just in case there's a tornado watch and play a little longer as we keep you guys up to date. Just watching just in case things try to evolve on us here. Jumping around with the radar. Let me see what we have in terms of power now. Clay Electric has 23,399 customers in the dark. That's a pretty big number. So again, just trying to keep you informed. Looking through the different sources. St. John's, Putnam, till 345. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, some damage to roof side and trees, a possibility. Marion County here, we're watching this down in this zone here till 4 p.m. So definitely worth noting here. Absolutely, gotta pay attention. Again, we loop the radar back around again a little bit. You see the progression of things. Kind of helpful. You saw some of the yellow boxes pop up a little later. Generally after things, we're edging out of Bradford County. But still had some power outages here in Bradford County. Again, looking through the latest information. I'm just trying to see what the storyline is. A little weak rotation in southern Flagler. Last few scans. I'm going to go ahead and put up the HRRR. I know things haven't been as volatile in the Carolinas as they could have been today, which is good, but they've been pretty active around here. But this is by around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock with the progressing 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. I started to zoom out a little, 11 p.m., midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I don't see necessarily flurries to the north too much with this, maybe way north. There could still be something. This is not showing it, but definitely a winter story up north there. Let's see here. Again, looks like around Brooksville, outside of area, I guess to about 58 miles an hour being reported there in the last few moments. So again, giving you the latest. Just keeping you informed. So that's going to be the storyline for this part of the update here. Or really this update, I should say, this half hour. But if I need to pop back in before 4, if a tornado warning pops up, we will. Something really imminent, but otherwise we'll see you at the top of the hour. And hopefully that'll be about the last update we'll have to do here, and I'll be able to wrap it up at that point. But we'll be back at 4 o'clock unless I need to pop back in sooner. Again, severe thunderstorm warning continues for portions of the area there, portions of Putnam and St. John's until 3:45, and then down here in parts of Marion and Putnam, eastern Marion, southeastern Putnam till 4 p.m. Some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts possible. The tornado watch still in play, yellow shaded area, but that's going to be trimmed back quite a bit here soon, I'm sure, to just our southern periphery, as you have the cool air trying to move on in on this very busy day here in the Weather Center. Stay safe out there. We'll be back in just a little bit. Keep it tuned right here to Clouds Weather. In the last half decade or so, our area and the region have been through a lot. Stay safe, but it's going to be memorable. I was there around 4 p.m. to document them. Life-threatening situation here. So, again, that's the storyline there. Oh, I think we just had another power flash. Another power flash. Sometimes Bradford County is a tough spot to see a spin up tornadoes, so we just want you to go ahead and be inside and away from windows. Can't even completely rule out a quick spin up tornadoes. The things have started to escalate here. Please take shelter. This is going to cause a lot of damage. Radar confirmed tornado in southeastern Georgia. We're seeing areas there around Perry bear the brunt of this, coming into these communities and ravaging them. That's what we got to get you guys out. You got to run from that water. You got to evacuate. You got to follow these orders. This is as serious of a situation I've seen. This is the eye wall. This is where some of the worst of the weather is. When hazardous weather threatens, trust Clouds Weather.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Meteorologist Casey Cloud jumping back in here at the top of the hour. It's 4 o'clock. We've been with you literally since that 5 a.m. hour this morning, giving you the very latest. And we still have a local severe thunderstorm warning right now here. So let's go ahead and zoom on in here as we're looking and as we're tracking. This is a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Flagler and Putnam until about 4:30. Tracking as of 3:48, severe thunderstorms located along a line extending from near Andalusia there to Juniper Springs area, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. So that's kind of a storyline there. There's some weak rotation as well, so we've got to watch out for a potential tornado warning in here. We'll monitor that very carefully, obviously, here over the next little bit. Under the tornado watch, they'll trim that back here very soon as we look here at the very latest information, as we look at the very latest that's going on. Most of that will be going away here soon. We still got this area there that we're monitoring, that we're tracking. Now, there's something else that we want to touch on here, that getting some reports just in here into the Weather Center toward parts of southern Bradford County. So let me go ahead. I'll switch on over. This is some delayed report, information. I will go ahead and flip it on over here. We're going to flip it on over. You see the loop and you saw some reports. We had that 55 gust there at the Keystone Airport, but just west of there, also, you see here as I look, we kind of go through it here. You see how we have the warning, but it's really before the warning. I mean, that gust was at 35 past the hour, just below severe limits. This report was 45 past the hour, which I'm about to get into. And then that warning box popping up there officially at about 47 past, but at 45 past or so, it appears that there may have been some type of, significant, in some ways, wind damage, the way you would describe it here. I don't want to say tornado yet, because I really don't know. That's not what they're using the description as, and it wasn't really tight rotation. Again, it wasn't even a warning, but there's a report from emergency management that several trees were knocked down off of Southwest County Road 18 here in Bradford County about 2:45. About 2:45 this afternoon, several trees knocked down there between Hampton and Theresa on County Road 18. So that's coming in here to the Weather Center. Again, a report of several trees being knocked down there off of Southwest County Road 18 in Bradford County around 2:45 this afternoon. Now, things looking better now, of course, on the Doppler in that regard. But again, trying to give you guys the very latest here on the situation. I know, looking at some dispatch information, I know across the county, there's a report of a wire down around Lodi showing up here as I'm looking at my map behind the scenes there around Olive and Truman. Those intersections there, that intersection, I should say, we're looking at that, a wire down out in the western part of the county, 219th, there in County Road 225. As we look, just checking here, I know it wasn't a great time, after, right around when people were getting out of school to have these storms come on through, but that's what happened here this afternoon. But you see it's cleared out now. Our tornado threat's over here in Stark, Bradford County, Alachua County. Now in Flagler County, it's not quite over though, so we still got to remain vigilant. This warning out now till 4:30 here. 4:30 for parts of Flagler and Putnam. At about 3:48, severe thunderstorms are located along a line extending from near Andalusia there to near Juniper Springs. Andalusia to near Juniper Springs, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. So once we get this done here, you see, I'll back it up. I'll go forward. We're almost done here, folks. We're almost done. Most of our area, it's pretty much just down to maybe Flagler now left with any, that severe chance. Putnam technically still in the box a little bit if you look real close, but it's really about Flagler now. Their last county out of the 62 left with a severe threat here. As we're looking at the situation. A little bit of weak rotation moving toward Corona here. So we definitely have to monitor. We have to be mindful here of the situation. Let me go ahead and see if I can effort some more information in about what might have happened in the southern part of Bradford County here over the last hour and a half or so. I'm going to go ahead and see what type of outage numbers we have right now. We'll go ahead and look here. Clay Electric, they have 21,708 out. In Bradford County, it is 722, but Clay County, almost 6,000. Alachua County, almost 5,000. Marion, almost 3,000. Putnam's a little over 3,000. Union's a little over 2,000. So these were storms that really got their act together right when they got in North Central Florida here. So we weren't getting these type of numbers. All these tornado warnings we had to the west, we never had any numbers quite like this that I've seen. So to get those numbers to come into play with those power outages tell you, that tells you that you really had that wind damage start to come into play, even though we didn't really have the warnings. We had the damaging conditions here start to come into play, and then the warnings. We had a bunch of tornado warnings earlier on, and it didn't necessarily have a lot so up down toward the surface so far from what I've seen. Granted, there may be stuff we don't know about here yet. It's still kind of taking its time being reported in or getting in the system. But also, Flagler County Emergency Management reported penny-sized hail along County Road 2006 to the west and County Road 305, with multiple reports of P to dime-sized hail in western Flagler, as we were looking here earlier on in the afternoon. And as we, wrap this up here soon, so we don't get any more warnings, we will have more coverage here with our next full update late tomorrow. We won't break back in again unless we need to, but our next full update will be late Tuesday, early Wednesday. Of course, it's going to be a chilly one tonight, though, so make sure you bundle up. We're going to be in the 30s here, and we could have rogue snow flurries as far south as about Albany, Georgia, so that's something we're not used to talking about here in mid-March, but here we are. I think it did happen in early April one time around here, maybe. Something like that, as we were looking, just kind of thinking back here into where the timeline, as we were looking there at that, just trying to give you guys the very latest. I know, just kind of looking at some things. Just trying to check something here real quick. It might have been 1986, actually, early March. So mid-March is really pushing it then. We did have some stuff with the storm of the century in 93, in the vicinity after severe weather. But this isn't the storm of the century, I know that severe threat really didn't verify near as much as we thought it was going to in the Carolinas today. I mean, you could make the argument it's been more. I mean, I'll look at our parroted numbers just to double check what I'm thinking. But besides Michigan with the winter side of this, Florida's, second place. So, we had a lot of hype for the Carolinas today, and it has really been a, what you would call in terms of the meteorology. I mean, maybe not for everybody, but most people, maybe a bust there in terms of that severe weather forecast, to be completely honest, up there in the Carolinas. But down here, we've had, more power outages than up there. And they dropped the moderate 4 out of 5 risk, put it down to an enhanced risk up there. And again, just not seeing the number of power outages, even like what we're seeing down here. So, again, looking at the situation here, monitoring things, we're giving you guys the very latest here. And, we're seeing here, winter mode actually, so snow flurries now in North Georgia. So in snow flurries here in North Georgia, they just had severe weather less than 12 hours ago, and now you have snow flurries there around Rome, Georgia, give or take. Let me put some of the reports on. Yeah, even around Atlanta now, there's actual reports coming in of this light snow there around Atlanta, even if the radar's not quite showing it. So light snow being reported now down to Atlanta as we're looking at things. I mean, you'll just go back a few hours, and I mean, they were starting to drop, but look at all these reports in inches so of snow around Huntsville, 1.5 inches. These are some pretty impressive totals on a national level. I mean, this shows you how dynamic of a system this is. I mean, to bring that winter air right back in here, folks. I mean, after we had 91 here down here in our area last week, we're going to have 30s tonight. Maybe some rural Georgia counties and Jones get to 20s. So, yeah, definitely telling that weather story here as we're looking at things and as we're tracking them, as we give you guys the very latest here on what's going on. I'm just going to back some things up here, on the velocity mode, just looking back here because it's been a busy period, obviously. And I'm going to let me just switch it over into this mode. As we're tracking things here. Definitely important to touch on everything the best we can. Just checking the situation here. Okay, in fact, Bradford County Fire Rescue just put a post out, literally right now. Let me see if I can get this on the air from their Facebook page. Bear with me. This is a report just in from Bradford County Fire Rescue. So what we're going to do here, we're going to make this full screen. So here we go. So yeah, Bradford County Fire Rescue has responded to multiple calls for trees and wires down over the past 2 hours. Please use caution when traveling the roadways. That's a report from Bradford County Fire Rescue here of multiple calls for trees and wires down over the past 2 hours. That definitely does tell that story here, that picture. Trees and wires down here in the county. Now, that's one of the areas that we're talking about, just a general kind of overview of that. Not giving the specifics there, but yeah, we've seen that with those winds coming on through here this afternoon for sure. So, again, that does tell that story here, that post just put out by the Bradford County Fire Rescue Facebook page there, here in the Stark area. Still watching some stuff there in toward Flagler County. We're still watching things. Got to 48 there at 350 around Bunnell. Just checking here, monitoring things, trying to give you the very latest. It's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. Trying to keep you guys safe. Looking off the Melbourne radar here, but looking down here, we have some of that rain's folding as we get a little too far on the radar, but we're still watching things in Flagler County. Some heavy downpours, some gusty winds, some lightning in there, maybe some severe weather, and even weak rotations. I can't really take note of it that much right now, but we're watching. There's a little bit of it, maybe around Bunnell. I mean, so far away from the radar, it's hard to say. But again, just continuing to watch that here. Surprised they haven't dropped more areas from the tornado watch because, our conditions here are looking better now. Except for Flagler, everybody else in our area is in the clear, except for Flagler. Again, everybody else in our area is in the clear from that severe potential here. I mean, you see a little bit of St. John's, but I think it's just Flagler at this point. We have the severe potential lingering for a little longer. You see here these these temperatures, cooler as we get back toward the north and west. I mean, you're seeing down to 40 there on Columbus, Georgia. That tells the story. There's also severe weather in down south in the state today. We're on West Palm, but some of these different parameters here in play. You see all that instability, but then you lose that instability further up as we look and as we track. Again, giving you guys the very latest here on the overall meteorological scenario. You see, looking at Flagler County here, the severe thunderstorm warning in place. So that warning, it's going to be something where I guess they could extend it past 4:30. I don't know what really, maybe 4:45 or something, but that'd be about it. And that should do it here. So we're not going to have another update at 4:30. We won't have another update unless we need to. But I'm going to have a radar loop going a little longer just in case they need to pop back in for some reason. But we're not going to plan on doing another update here now. We'll have the loop going of everything that's happened. You can kind of watch that and see how things have transpired here through the day. In toward the weather center, in toward our viewing circle, in toward that meteorology here. So again, that's going to pretty much wrap it unless we need to pop back in, obviously, if there's something imminent, like a tornado warning popping up. So we're going to run that radar loop here the last 4 hours to be able to see the progression of things here on the storm reports as well. So again, just telling the story. We did get an update on the warning now. So okay, they just sent out an update. Let me see what we got then. Okay, we should have a new box or updated box. It's about to show one up here. Let me see what we have. There you go. So cancel for Putnam. Still parts of Flagler to 4:30. At 4:15, severe thunderstorms are located along the line extending from near Palm Coast to near Barberville, moving east at 45 miles an hour. Palm Coast, Flagler Beach, Bunnell, Beverly Beach, Espanola there under that 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, penny-sized hail. So that's what we're looking at that right now. They're I-95 in Flagler County, give or take. So, still watching all that here for you. We got that radar loop going now, and if we need to pop back in, we will. If we need to come back in with another update, I will for sure. But this should pretty much wrap it for the time being, I think. Again, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. Again, if we need to pop back in, we will. We're not planning on coming back at 4:30 with another update or any other time unless I need to. But I'll leave this running a little longer. At least get this out of the area here with that severe thunderstorm warning. And again, if something really, is imminent that we need to pop back in for, some damage reports even that I get here in the next little bit, I'll pop back in. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in and trusting me. Our next one will update late tomorrow. And we'll be back, with that here then on Facebook, on Twitter /X, YouTube, Twitch. That's just where we're, have the latest here. And just you'veclutter.com/radar for the interactive radar as well. Thanks for tuning in and trusting me. It's been a very busy period, but we're going to leave it here. That radar running a little bit longer so you can see what's happened, what's still happening in the far southern fringes, and then you have some of that stuff getting out of the area as well. But it's a severe thunderstorm warning for Flagler County, a little bit longer remaining there. That's the storyline for now. Thanks for trusting me. I've been with you for the better part of the last 12 hours here, giving you the very latest. And I appreciate your trust in me to keep you guys informed on these inclement conditions. For now, bundle up tonight. It's going to be cold. And I just hope everybody's all right after these storms came through, causing some damage here in spots. I definitely got to be very mindful and careful with those type of situations. Try to enjoy the rest of your day out there, as it will, be getting dark here in a few hours and getting chilly as we look ahead there in that timeline.